to be respectful to all the crew members who worked on that beautiful film. Wasn't it lovely? And then, well, you got me with the egg cartons, Mr. Niven, at the end. I did have the tears running down and crying as well at the end.
Yes, it's so touching at the end. I'd like you to give it up for Norry Niven for making all that possible.
So we're going to invite them up here because I'm sure some of you have some questions. We have microphones set up in the front for you to ask your questions. So without further ado, Norry Niven, Tantoo, Cardinal, Danny Glover, and Mike Wade. Such a lovely film. You guys did a great job. Ladies and gentlemen, the cast of Chasing Shakespeare. So, do you want me to ask the first question, just to break the ice? Or is there somebody out there? Well, I will ask Mr. Glover, because I asked him this morning and he gave me a terrific answer to it about the reasons why you loved this script and why you wanted to make this movie.
Tantoo said it really is a love story. And sometimes you choose to do something because of all the elements that are in this film. I talk so much about the relationship between this African-American man and this First Nation woman. And when I thought about that, and then, all the other things that Norry brought out that I kind of forgot about. Besides the beautiful script, the wonderful script, those are all the reasons that I wanted to do that. One of these pictures that you saw in the introduction was my grandmother. And my grandmother was part Choctaw. You can see it all in her face. And I thought about one of the things that was a relationship between these amazing communities. And that's why I wanted to do it. But I got something much deeper and much more beautiful from your wonderful performance and certainly the direction and here.
Were very strong. Really, you brought out the best in your actors for sure. And maybe, does anyone else have a question? Or can I keep going? No? Okay. I'm going to ask you, Ms. Cardinal, about, was there a question? Oh, yes, sorry. I was waiting for people to go to the microphone. Sorry. Would you mind going to the microphone to ask your question so they can hear it? Sorry, it's right here.
Okay. Yeah. It's working.
Hello, thank you for the movie. It was very nice to see and very touching. I would like to know, okay, it's not an action movie like you used to do a long time. I would like to know how do you play something so interior? Because you had seen where you were totally in your mind and your memories, and how do you do that? Like,
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Give that to me. Why did I? Did someone else?
She's asking sort of how many of the scenes in the movie were so internal, and you all did such a good job of expressing it and acting it without words. I guess she's asking you, Mr. Glover, and probably you, Miss Cardinal, because a lot of it was, unspoken love between you that came out in your faces. How do you do that? Is that sort of your question? It's a hard one to answer. How do you do that?
Well, I think one of the great tools that we both have, and I think that's because we've experienced so much in life, and what you do is you bring your life's experience, and a great deal of that life experience is those moments of reflection, thought, and the deeper side. I remember my mother used to tell me, I'd wash your dishes leaning over the sink, call it some sort of daydreaming. And she used to tell me, boy, that's all you do. That's all you're going to do the rest of your life is daydream. You may want to add to that.
Tantoo, yeah, could we hear from you? Because really a lot, it was so interesting to watch your performance and how deep it was, but there were not too many words.
Well, that's all I had.
You were amazing. We were in love with you right away from that first scene, I think.
Well, there's lots of love there. There's lots of history. I love somebody telling the story about the inability of a certain world and a certain culture to accept a native person to play in the theater and to do Shakespeare at a certain time in our history. And I love that thunder and lightning was being brought into the story, because the world that I come from is very alive, and we call them thunder beings. And I've been doing this work for 43 years now, and it's been a very personal thing to know that the thunder beings love this work. And it's exasperating for filmmakers sometimes because the clouds keep coming around. But they do love this work, and they're called the thunder beings, and they're very alive in their character, and they're part of life. And so I appreciated that being brought into the story. So that's a deep, deep love, and the love of knowing that there are many people that have First Nations blood. Many, many more people than talk about it, than know about it even, have First Nations blood. And that goes through the energy fields. Whether you're aware of it or not, once you have First Nations ancestors, you always have First Nations ancestors. They're part of your angel force. And that's also the love that was there, and that I could feel and work with.
Certainly.
And those things, it's hard to put words to it, but it was fun.
I just want to mention that Cardinal's son is in school here in Montreal, right?
Is he in the theater?
Is he in the theater? He's following in his mother's footsteps, and he's using our city.
Please say, who's the guy under the sea? Anybody under the sea?
We have another question?
Yes. I would like to say that the movie was really wonderful, though it was really eclectic.
it means to be the union between nature and human being. We want to see more a production like this. And my question to Mr. Glover, you are a versatile artist and a great, beautiful human being. I would like to ask you, how do you feel about watching this movie tonight again?
This is one of the rare occasions that I watch myself. I think I told Norry that I don't watch my movies because everything that I want from the movie, it happens in the process of shooting it. And but I just found myself just taken and just moved. The film to me, and this is not the village, it was just seemed to be transcending. And I'm glad you brought that element that you mentioned, the whole thing about nature.
Wow.
And the idea of that most of us are, and we are alienated from nature. And that's the process that's going on for some time as people of the world pushed into cities. And that's another element that I think that certainly is expressed in the film. But yeah, I mean, I still kind of, you know, the things you watch, you know, and I remember when I did the first Lethal Weapon, like I was like 39 years old, I was playing 50 and I tried to move like I was 50 years old. And I remember the director saying, boy, you sure seem like you're moving really old. And then I said, oh yeah, in the middle of the scene, I broke out in a sprint and ran past Mel. But I was looking at this and I said, boy, I really do move slow. I don't have to pretend. It's the little things that you come up with that. And I know it sounds silly in some sense. It's the little things. That's why you don't watch yourself. You don't watch yourself. It's because you really look at yourself and say, boy, I really do. I am there, right there. Not pretending anymore, I am. You know?
Thank you.
But it's beautiful too. Let me get serious here. Okay.
I know there are other questions, but I'd like to get Mr. Wade in on this. You were so beautiful on screen, I have to tell you. Not just the shirt, the whole thing. You are a spectacular movie actor, honestly. I really think the character was amazing, and I mean, playing a young Danny Glover, how cool is that?
Yeah, that was very cool.
He can move, Mr. Glover, still.
As you see, I got a growth spurt. I look tall, so that's good. Looking forward to that.
But tell me what the experience for you of this film and what it was like for you to be part of this and to work with this cast and crew.
For me, it was, it was just as close to perfect as it could be. You know, it's kind of like a dream because, as I said at the press conference earlier, you know, I was the new guy. We got veteran actors and Chelsea Ricketts, you know, she's been in some things, but I'm not too long out of acting school and doing smaller budget short films and smaller budget feature films. So it just all kind of came together into, you know, I don't really believe in luck, but I believe in great fortune. And I just was really, really fortunate to work on a project that I care so passionately about. You know, when I read the script, I was like, wow, this is just amazing. You know, we talked about the relationship between indigenous people and between African American people. But also there's a universal thing of just life, you know, and love. Danny and Tantoo talked about drawing from your own personal experience, and there's a lot of William in me, especially when I was younger, you know? So, yeah, I use my imagination in some places, but a lot of it just really naturally came from me. Some of those same experiences I've had, and that's good and bad. So.
Came across on screen. I think we're going to see you in a lot of big productions after that.
I would just want to say one more thing to Mr. Glover, because I know I'm one of the founder of Bookman Experience from Haiti, and Lataye, a group named Lataye. And I know you really like that group, and I will, on behalf of all the members of Lataye and Bookman Experience, I will tell you that Haiti love you very much.
We have some questions on the center.
Hey, first of all, thank you very much for organizing the event tonight. And
You can't help fandom. Lovely.
congratulations, Yvon, an incredible cast and really nice film. And I have a question for you, Mr. Glover. Me myself, and I'm just kidding. I'm an actor and social activist myself as well, and that's why I admire you so much. And congratulations on the award that you have received tonight. Well, my question is that, like, through all the work experience that you had, mainly, as a social activist looking to seeking for change, what has been like the challenges that you have had towards seeking this change, and how have you managed to overcome like these challenges?
Well, I guess in some sense that at this stage in my life, we are able to go back a little bit and reflect on not only what has happened in front of the camera to me, but also the things that I've tried to be of service to. And so sometimes that's one thing, to go back and to kind of think about those particular things. I find myself doing to some degree, but also what I do is I find myself looking forward. And I think most of the things, the way in which I approach whatever's happening is that I feel that I'm still growing and still learning, and hopefully, God willing, able to listen still and listen to the voices, to voices of people. And I think in that sense, one of the things, they say that you come at youth, wisdom is wasted on the youth, And so I think that one of the things that has serviced me is to begin to feel that I'm still growing and learning, and to feel that I understand the world a little bit better. Not that I have any answers, but understand what is happening, and to be able to take all those things into consideration. This, in my comments upon receiving the humanitarian award, I talked about Mother Earth and planet, and how we must nurture it. The first people think about 7 generations, in that sense. What is the planet going to look like 7 generations from where they are? But more than anything else, this is a conversation that I would have been able to discuss or talk about maybe at 20. And fortunately for you, who are young, you can talk about it. You can make an imprint on your own, the own relationship that you have with the earth itself. when I talked about us being alienated from the land, in the process to divorce ourselves from the land and nature, because in divorcing oneself, when separating us and nature, you begin the process of separating us from ourselves and us from each other. And that's very key. That's a very important lesson that I think that we have to learn. We can talk about all the instruments of convenience that we have in our hands. We're able to use, we're able to touch this, or we're able to touch that button, and we're able to do this technology, use that technology. But we've lost something in the process. We've also been in the process of disassociating ourselves from each other and from ourselves and from that vital place, Mother Earth.
We now there are lineups for questions. This is what always happens. They're telling me one more question. I see 3 people there. So if we can try to keep it brief, would that be okay? Because I know you guys have...
The problem is my answers are long.
Yeah, but you're fascinating, so that's okay. We can listen to you. But it's just for timing for people. So can we take 3 and just keep it brief, or is that... last 3, okay, guys? And we're going to try to keep it brief. So we'll start over here.
Hi, thank you once again for everything. It was really a beautiful performance. More than once, I was tearing up. It's truly, truly a love story. And I want to also commend Mr. Wade for your character and Venus's character's portrayal of young love. There's such strong charisma between the two of you, and it really shows through on stage. But my question is actually directed to Mr. Niven in terms of this theme that you see a lot of the relationship between father and son. I saw that a lot there's this tension, and I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Sure. Yeah, all of that's necessary for Ricky and for his father, for William, in that the subtext is about eternal life. And without him arguing, without him having an epiphany at the very end of the film, we wouldn't really get Ricky. But because of that, we suddenly connect the dots, and as he connects the dots and realizes there was real magic. We all have a matriarch, a woman in our family who we believe is magic, right? There's some one person in the family that we know can control the outcome of a football game, or, in this case, it's definitely Venus, and he knows that probably in his heart, but he also has a serious concern about his father. He thinks his father's losing his mind, and that's legitimate, He's worried for his safety. I just want to real quick point out, James Bird, without James Bird's screenplay, none of this is possible. James, did you say that? The audience, yes, and I'm executive producer as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, question over here.
Yeah, so the first, the guy who went before me literally stole my question, but I was going to manage to come up with a new one. First of all, I want to just thank you guys for showing us the value in culture and really bringing that forward in your video. This one's for you, Danny. So in the process that you're talking about, in eventually coming to connect with nature and realizing that we're all one big family, and I just want to know what is your opinion on the role that community plays in becoming closer to nature and to Mother Earth?
You're asking the question, that question, the role that community plays?
Exactly.
It is ultimately about community and building and reimagining communities. That's constant in some sense. And it's a testimony to the human experience. It's something that happened. It's a very interesting phenomenon. There's a writer named Jeremy Rifkin. He wrote a book called The End of Work. And he wrote this about 20 years ago. And he talked about, he mentioned in one chapter when he talked about labor and work in African Americans. And he said that African Americans were not free from the land by the Emancipation Proclamation, which this year is 150 years ago. They were free because of the invention of the cotton picking machine. Now that sounds kind of preposterous. But in 1944, 100% of the cotton was picked by hand. By 1969, 100% of the cotton was picked by a machine. More than 5 million African Americans left the South, came north, and have settled in the projects and all the other places that we refer to as ghettos and inner cities and everything else. And when they came, they created another community amongst the concrete. And the beauty of the human spirit is that at some point they reimagine themselves and recreate themselves. I've been spending a great deal of time over the last decade off and on in Detroit. And in Detroit, the home of modern industry, modern industry, the first highways, cars, automobiles, Detroit. One of the biggest movements around urban gardening, community gardening in this country is happening in Detroit. People from around the world come to Detroit to look at the kind of work that they've been doing around urban gardening. And the ideas around education, ideas around place-based education, new imaginable ways of looking at education, and often different ways of looking at community and the responsibility that small entrepreneurs and businesses have to the community. All those are coming out of a factory town. Now, what impact that has, ultimately, is just a small template, a small example in a vast sea. But what are the possibilities that grow from that and reimagine in our relationship to nature, even amongst the concrete, is pretty profound. And I think on the one hand, if we're going to service who we can be and as human beings and how we recreate our relationship to each other and who we are in the world, then it's going to have to be in some way where we're going to have to sit down, take pause, and begin to think of ways in which we nourish the sensibilities in our heart, our soul, used by the great, probably for me, one of the greatest man of the 20th century, Martin Luther King Jr., you know, creating the beloved community.
Okay, so last question. We could listen to him talk all night, curious. One more question.
Beautiful screenplay. Obviously, I couldn't agree more with love is the energy, love is the light, because we as a human species are wired for love, kindness, and compassion. We need to connect with each other, and basically what we want is we want to love and be loved, and I think that's really life. So my question is for the director. Midpoint in the movie, the scene where Venus and William are on the roof, and Venus wants to go to New York. William has to stay to take care of his father, and Venus is about to jump off the roof, and suddenly it's the wind that brings her back on the roof. And I was just wondering, why isn't it the light that brought her back on the roof? And one more question is, how much was the budget for the production? Thank you.
I'll start with that. We're still spending money, so the budget's not quite done yet. The visual story is all about thresholds. And on the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell wrote about, the hero has to start. They don't have to leave. They don't have to cross the threshold. They can stay behind and age and become an old king who doesn't act on their destiny. And you saw that in the high school teacher. He's caught in that threshold in the high school gym. He doesn't cross. Venus has the ability to cruise through thresholds. She goes through doorways, over the edge of buildings. She has a strong spirit and an open mind and a beautiful heart. So that combination allows her to drift through the scenes. And those are very purposeful, those frames and those fence lines. You see William pause at that fence line at the end of toward the end of the film.
That fence line is his threshold. He looks back at the house, that's his life. If he crosses the threshold, if he walks through the fence, he's going to die. He knows that. In the first part of the film, almost exactly, precisely the same distance in as it is out, there's a line of tombstones, exactly where that fence line was, that he stands on this side of. So he's alive until he crosses the threshold. So that threshold for her was the only time in the film where she questions. She knows she loves this guy. It's been in the stars her whole life. It was her dad's dream. But she questions herself because she knows she has another destiny. She has to go out and pursue this dream, which ultimately will bring her back to him, or he chases her. So she steps over the house, over the edge of the roof, and the wind, the forces of nature blow her back, and that's when you see the smile on her face. She knows that she can't deny her fate, and that's what that movement was all about. Thanks for the question.
You really can't, they're not letting me. I want to hear them too, but
The last one.
and because they're telling me no, because it'll just go on and on. But I want to say thank you, a tremendous thank you to all of you. It was such a great pleasure and honor to see you all children and hear your thoughts on it. Danny Glover, Tantoo, Cardinal, Mike Wade, and Norry Niven, the director. Thank you all so much. I'm sure they won't mind if you come and ask them quietly.
Sure. Okay.
No, not ask the questions.